here we are with our guy, Rob Staton from the Seahawks blog. It's all brought to you by Superior Linen Service. Are you caught up on your sleep today?
Yeah, well, that's the good thing is the draft finishes on Saturday, so you have the whole Sunday to sleep and just get back to normal. That was what Sunday was basically for me, sleeping, and then here we are. So ready to do it all over again.
I mean, the amount of content that you did. I mean, for it was like a week ago, we did the draft show. You jump on, it's like after 1 o'clock there. We do the entire draft. Okay, and then you come back later, which I think is like 5:30 in the morning your time to do a wrap-up show. I can't thank you enough for last week. You were a warrior. People love you to death, and it was just great to have you break it all down. So I just want to say thank you one more time.
No, my pleasure. Look, it's a great time of year, and you know you have to do a lot of stuff like last week because like we're now going to this big, long, boring bit in the NFL where like nothing happens for a couple of months. So yeah, we've got to get it in where you can.
You are right about that. Again, Rob's weekly appearance, Seahawks Draft Blog, is brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926. Superior Linen Service provides the highest quality of products and service to the greater Puget Sound area. Get a free quote today at suplinen.com. Give them a call at 253-383-2636. And as we always mention, check out Rob's work, SeahawksDraftBlog.com, his YouTube page. Search at Rob Staton, also there on X. Let's recap the draft. You've had a week to digest it. What did you make now overall of what the Seahawks did?
I think with the first two picks, you can't complain at all. You know, they did a really good job letting the draft come to them. That is what the good teams tend to do, Puck. You know, when you are picking in the middle of the first round, generally that is where the last few legit first round players are going to fall. This was a slightly different draft class where I think you had legit first round players last into the late teens and in even the early 20s. I think the fact that 6 quarterbacks took up half of the top 12 also pushed a few good players back. So the Seahawks are in a really good spot. And, you know, we'd kind of talked a lot over the last few weeks. Should the Seahawks trade down? Should they stay where they were? I think as soon as someone like Byron Murphy was there for them, you know, they had two great options, in my opinion, Byron Murphy and Troy Fautanu. And because Fautano's knee issue was flagged as a little bit of a problem, I'm not surprised that they preferred Murphy in that situation. You plug him in there, you put him next to Leonard Williams and Jaron Reed, you have got a fearsome-looking defensive front now. So I thought that was a really great pick. And then going and getting Christian Haynes with that second pick, you know, 2 thumbs up from me. They needed a guard. They went and get a guard. He's very aggressive. He's athletic. I think he's going to fit in very nicely. He's the kind of player that will come in as a rookie, provide a baseline performance, and will probably be pretty consistent throughout the 4 years of his rookie contract. So a really good pair of picks there for the Seahawks.
Okay, so let's. I want to get later though in the draft. Was there anything that you kind of left you kind of scratching your head a little bit? Are we in agreement on the tight end pick?
Yeah, I'm underwhelmed with the day 3 selections, and I thought they did get value with DJ James. I think that was a player that probably went a bit later than everybody expected. But with those 2 4th-round picks, it did leave me sort of scratching my head a little bit. I think that with Tyrese Knight, for me, he was a late 5th-round pick. I don't really understand what has moved them to take them where they did at 118, you know, the middle of the 4th round. Rick Spielman, who's the former GM of the Minnesota Vikings, had a great description for him, that he's like a blind dog in a butcher's shop. And that is how he plays. You know, it's where do I go? Like, it's just, that's how he plays. And, you know, when playing for UTEP, that was kind of fine, you know, that he kind of just sort of played with his hair on fire and just ran to where he thought the ball carrier was going to be and hit him as hard as you can. Playing within structure is going to be an issue for him. And he doesn't have the amazing athletic traits whereby you think, okay, if you can get him to play with a bit more discipline, then the traits will come to the fore and it will all come together. My concern a little bit with him is the minute that you stop allowing him to just do what he thinks is best, which is what he was doing at UTEP, and you ask him to play within a scheme, that when he's having to think about things a bit more, because he doesn't have the amazing speed, doesn't have explosive traits, doesn't have that great agility, that he's just going to be a step behind. So I thought there were better players available when they took him. And then with Barner, look, no one can deny that he is a very solid blocking tight end. But he already runs a very slow 40-yard dash at 250 pounds. I think it's realistic to expect if he's going to be a blocking tight end in the NFL, he's going to have to put on weight is that going to slow him down even more? I mean, for me, if you are taking him predominantly just to block as a tight end, the middle of the fourth round's quite rich to take him there. And I thought sort of late fifth would have been acceptable. I thought those two picks were reaches. Now, a lot of people overreact when you say that and think, well, you know, that you're complaining about it. But all you can do is evaluate these players before the draft. And then whether the Niners take him, the Rams take him, or the Seahawks take him, judge whether they got the value. And I have to say, with those two picks, I didn't think the Seahawks got
I think it's fair. I think when they selected Barner, I think that obviously I think they were going to look at tight end, but when I look at the tight end room right now and I see him and I see, you know, obviously they got Brown and they've got Noah Fant. I don't know. I mean, when I hear the comps of Will Dissly, not to take anything away from Will Dissly, I mean, he's a great personality, but he was a blocking tight end that they ended up giving a terrible contract to, by the way, an awful contract for somebody who didn't do anything in terms of, I mean, he was a blocker, but no threat in the passing game. And this guy doesn't seem to be a threat at all in the passing game. I mean, it hasn't been over. I mean, what was his career stats? I mean, 20 something odd catches, 200 something yards. I mean, God, if you're going to go tight end, I would like a little bit more of an even balance of being a blocker and also being a receiving threat. Maybe, I don't know, Rob, maybe it's like the McCarthy thing, that it was just untapped there at Michigan because they didn't want to, release everything. But I don't know.
The biggest problem that I have with this is, I know we're going back a little bit here, but
yeah.
I thought George Kittle deserved to go in the third round. And that was sort of where I graded him at the time. And I think a lot of people felt that way. It's not like I had some amazing insight on George Kittle there. A lot of people sort of agreed with that assertion. And the Seahawks kept passing on him and didn't take him. And he was a blocking tight end, but he ran a 4.50 or whatever it was. So you could sort of see, okay, he's got real blocking ability there, but he's also got the speed to be a dynamic threat in the passing game. The Seahawks didn't take him. And then they go and take Will Dissly and they go and take AJ Barnett. And you think, why can't, when the guy's there who's a brilliant blocker, who's available in the fifth round, who has got that upside to be just more than a blocker, why are you passing on him? And then you're taking these much slower guys who are just blocking tight ends. Now, AJ Barnett is never going to stretch a field. I've no doubt at all that he's going to help Seattle's run game pretty quickly. But when you line him up, if teams don't fear him as a pass catching threat, it kind of is a bit of a tell as to what you're going to do. And he's not a seam busting tight end. He just isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you are tipping your hand right when he comes into the game, what you're going to do if he's no threat in the passing game. I mean, it's just spot on. I mean, everyone's going to know run. I mean, you're going to have the run chance out there coming from the sideline. Okay. So you love Murphy. You love what they did with Christian Haynes. I would assume one of those two guys are your favorite pick in the draft.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has to be Murphy because there's just something, Puck, isn't there, about a three technique defensive tackle that has, and now look, I'm repeating myself here. I've done it an awful lot over the last few weeks, but with the fantastic arse and thighs, that does have that minimal body weight. And when John Schneider was after the draft, who does he remind you of? And he said, he isn't Aaron Donald, but that's the player that comes to mind. The reason that John Schneider says that is because it's the frame. His build looks a lot like Aaron Donald, and you can compare him. Listen, I'm interviewing Jim Nagy again this week, and when I spoke to him a few weeks ago, he said he reminds me of Grady Jarrett, and it's a perfectly acceptable comp based on the way that they play. You could look at other players. I've seen Ed Oliver's been in comparison, stuff like that. But when you actually just look at him, forget playing style, just look at the body, it does remind you quite a lot of Aaron Donald. And there's just something exciting about that kind of player. Who's twitchy, he's got agility, he's got great base, can play any kind of down. Those types of players are so rare. So for the Seahawks to get probably the only three technique that looks like he does, I can't remember the last time there was a three technique with his body coming into the draft, but the Seahawks to land him is very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I got that comp right away of what John Schneider was saying. It was weird that some people took it and ran with it. Oh, that he's comparing him to like the player Aaron Donald, like how he's going to perform and be like, no one is ever going to be Aaron Donald ever again. There's only one Aaron Donald. We're talking about one of the most disruptive, if not the most disruptive defensive player that has ever played the game. I mean, certainly there's a debate. We can go old school and go Reggie White, him, Lawrence Taylor, what have you. But I knew exactly what he was saying. He looks just like him. Like body size and all of that. So I don't know. I'm thrilled with it. I'm thrilled with what they did with the first two picks. Would you be disappointed if Haynes can't unseat Anthony Bradford there at right guard?
I think we all will be, because
me too.
Look, he's taken a round earlier than Anthony Bradford. I must admit, Puckett, as much as I think the defensive line could be the identity of the team. Like, you've got so many options up front. You've got some good edge rushers there. It could mesh together. And Mike McDonald's version of the Seahawks could be led by that defensive front. But the O-line still, to me, I just look at it and think, that's a concern. Like, Laken Tomlinson, do we actually know whether he can play anymore? He's 32 years old.
Yeah.
Center, is Oluwatimi a good enough starting center in the NFL? And if not, is Nick Harris a good enough sort of alternative option? We've got sort of young players in Bradford who we still know quite a little about, and Christian Haynes. You've got a question mark with Abe Lucas's knee, and then you've got George Fant on the right side, and you've got Lemaya who's going to come in, who might be able to play one of those right-hand spots as well. And then Charles Cross, who for me still remains a big question mark. I think he's kind of been like, people assume that he's going to be something, but we've had 2 years of Charles Cross now, and I'm still waiting to see that sort of step forward. And maybe Scott Huff can get it out of him. I thought he was a second-round prospect coming out. I didn't think he was a top 10 player. And I think he's played exactly how he played at Mississippi State in the first 2 years. I want to see some anger. I want to see some strength. I want to see some physicality from him at tackle, not just be a finesse tackle. So when I look across that line, I think that, to me, just looks like a line which still, and we were talking about this going into the offseason, could use some investment in it, could use some proven quality in the veteran market, and it could probably still use a bit more in the draft. And that, to me, is a bit of a concern, that O-line.
Hey, when you get Nagy on, ask him this, because I think it was draft night or someone had mentioned it. I mean, obviously with Haynes, he had played tackle and move him inside to guard. Been mention of him also dipping his toes into being a center?
Yeah, that's been brought up. I mean, I personally don't want to do that. Like, the guy, whenever I've watched him, has been right guard. And it'd be classic Seahawks to take someone who has sort of made a college career and a draft range out of playing right guard, and then try and shoo him into center. I mean, I think they ruined Damian Lewis by moving him from right guard to left guard. I mean, just to put Gabe Jackson in there.
What if it works, though, with Haynes? Maybe it works.
Maybe it will, but it's really difficult to snap the ball and then get into your set. And then I was talking to, I know that sounds quite basic.
I'm with you.
But it can actually be difficult. And when you're sort of watching, the Senior Bowl is a great place to sort of understand this, that you can just see who's natural at it. The snap, get in the hand, shooting their hands inside really quickly. I was speaking to someone who I really respect in the league a few weeks ago, and I said, what do you look for in a center? Like, tell me what I should be looking for when I'm looking at a center. And he said, I want a center who can snap the ball, and then he's the aggressor, who's shooting those hands very quickly, who's very confident with it, and he's attacking the guy in front of him. And a lot of these players who haven't played a lot of center, they are tentative as hell. Like, they snap the ball and then get it into position. They're a bit nervous about it. They're a bit slow, and people get into the chest very quickly. And that's when you've got a player who's not used to it, I'm not sure I want to throw that onto his shoulders. Just get after it. Just tell Christian Haynes, this is what Christian Haynes does. Flies off the snap and hits people in the face. Ask him to do that at right guard for me.
I'm intrigued. You intrigued by Nick Harris? I mean, just because of his past relationship there with Scott Huff, and obviously at Washington, and now they've acquired him. And, we haven't seen much of Oluwatimi. He's still very much in his young career, but Nick Harris is going to know this offense. I mean, he's going to know the calls on the line, and he's going to have the most experience of anyone, because this is the system he ran with Huff and then with Ryan Grubb. Yeah,
I mean, perhaps. I think part of the problem is Seattle's O-line seems to change every year.
Well, that's,
and your
you're
five
right.
offensive linemen, like it's the only position or group on the field in the game of football where they have to be a team. And it changes so often. There's never any chemistry built up. This was why, going into the draft, one of the things I was really intrigued by was that they took Christian Haynes, and about, I think, 2-3 picks later, Zach Zinter was taken by, I think, the Browns, who played a lot of football with Oluwatimi. And then you've got Trevor Keegan, who went, I think, 5th round or 6th round, who played a lot of football with Oluwatimi at Michigan at left guard. And part of me, there was secretly was kind of hoping they're going to draft Zach Zinter, they're going to draft Trevor Keegan, and they're going to place either of those two, and they could have done it because all of those players were available to them. They're going to place them either side of Oluwatimi, and you're just going to transplant the award-winning Michigan line to Seattle. and they've got the chemistry, and then you get your tackles to work with them for a bit, and you could recreate that. Now, whether or not they clearly thought Haynes was better than Zinter, and he's got an injury, and they obviously didn't rate Trevor Keegan that much. But that, to me, would have enabled the Seahawks to get that kind of chemistry and that familiarity moving forward. And that's what they've got to build now. This is the problem I have. They try out a team and it doesn't work. They try Nick Harris and it doesn't work. In a year, it's new center time. They have a different center every year. If Laken Tomlinson is a one-year arrangement, next year you've got a different left guard. Whatever happens with Abe Lucas, maybe another right tackle coming in. It's just too much chopping and changing every year.
I'm with you. It's a cliche we talk about all the time, but it's the two most important groups on any football team. It's just the offensive line and the defensive line. What about the D line? Like obviously with the addition of Murphy, now you got Leonard Williams. Draymond Jones was a disappointment last year. 4.5 sacks. He's got a big big contract still, $30 million guaranteed, the dead cap and the salary cap hit and all that kind of stuff. He's not going anywhere. Jaron Reed, Hankins, you got Mike Morrison and Cameron Young, who obviously are still kind of unproven talents. But you said it earlier, you think this possibly could be the strength of the football team.
Well, what's great about it is, if you think about a year ago, they basically had Draymond Jones and Jaron Reed and not a lot else. Like, they didn't have a nose tackle of any real note. They were a few months away from trading for Leonard Williams, and I can remember just sort of having this major concern that they're probably going to ask Jaron Reed to play every snap, and that's not fair on Jaron Reed. And then when the season started, it felt like they were one Jaron Reed injury away from having a total disaster on the front. And now you look at it and you think, they've got Murphy, they've got Williams, they've got Reed. Cam Young now isn't, nothing's expected of him. He can just be a rotational piece. They've got some other younger players that can do that. You can be creative. If you want to play a three-man front, you can do that. You've got Jonathan Hankins in there, anchoring if you want to play, proper old-school nose tackle. And then you can work off it. You can stunt Murphy from inside to out. You can have your edge rushers crashing inside to create opportunities for Williams and for Murphy. You can have those two just sort of absorbing blocks and taking up blocks, which will create 1v1s on the outside for some of your speedier edge rushers. I just think there's so many combinations that Mike McDonald's got now with that defensive front. The thing is, though, as you mentioned, Draymond Jones, to me, he's the odd man out. Like, I don't see really how he fits into this, because if you are playing a three-man front, I don't really think he's a five technique in the way that they play. Baltimore never had anybody like that. And if you're playing a four-man front, then you're playing him, but then you're taking one of your four edge rushers off the field. So I don't know. Maybe he could be that sort of first, second down D if they play a four-man front. After June the 1st, they can save $11.5 million by trading him. So I do wonder if they'll give him training camp, see how he fits, see if they can work a rollout for him. But if they just think this is an ill fit, I could easily imagine a player swap with another team, or a throwaway pick just to get to give him an opportunity to go somewhere where he fits better, to you to save $11.5 million, so you've got that cap space. I could imagine that down the line, but I can't imagine there's going to be any rush to do that. That's something for weeks down the line in training camp.
How do we feel about the linebacker spot? I mean, I think we probably all feel pretty good about where we're at with the outside linebackers, especially with Nowusu. He's going to be coming back after the injury. Well, I look at the inside linebackers, and we've been so blessed, right, for a decade plus to have, one of the best guys ever in the history of the sport patrolling the middle of that defense. And now you're going to go into it, with some unproven talent, right? And you're looking at Tyrell Dodson, you're looking at Jerome Baker. These guys, they think they can be an interchangeable. You mentioned before they drafted Tyrese Wright. Inside linebacker, at this point, it's kind of an unproven commodity and unknown, especially because you've had number 54, right, Rob, there for so many years, and maybe the play slipped, obviously, the last few years. But you knew the quality of play you were getting week in and week out. And right now, you'll head into the season. I don't know. I don't even know what you're going to get out of these guys.
Yeah, I'm not that concerned about it, because I think Baker is just so solid, like a really solid player. Dodson is a bit more of an unknown, but that's intriguing in a way, that when he got his chance at Buffalo, he took that opportunity to become PFF's number one rated linebacker. So now we're going to see whether that was just a coincidence, a bit of a fluke, or whether that was the emergence of, a developing, talented young linebacker. And I think part of the problem we've had as fans is the fact that we're so used to seeing Bobby Wagner back there for so long, relying on him behind a bad defensive line. He had a couple of years, there was the one when they had Sheldon Richardson, for example, when he had actually think he had some depth up front, which enabled, Wagner to have one of his better seasons. But apart from that, he's been the bailout, bajillion tackles every season because the D-line can't do anything. And we've kind of come to sort of rely on that middle linebacker position. And then also because Mike McDonald was coming back from Baltimore, people look at Roquan Smith and go, wow, they had Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. If you look at the rest of the league, they kind of just get by at that position. They draft players and plug them in.
You're right.
There's not a lot of big names there. So I actually quite like those two. The problem that I think is that they don't have any real depth. So if one of those guys gets injured, especially at middle linebacker, the Mike, you do wonder then what happens. Does Tyrese Knight get thrust in as a rookie? That could be a recipe for disaster. But the D-line's so good, I don't think it's going to matter too much.
Yeah, you don't draft inside linebackers that high anymore. That's kind of that's been gone for a while. You don't see it. Outside linebacker spot seems solid to me, and this is why I don't understand, and I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe this is just agent stuff, but we just keep hearing it. Just keeps coming up and up and up. Well, they're not closing the door on Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is still out there. There was a latest report came out, and if they do bring him back, they're going to bring him back as an outside linebacker, weak side linebacker. And then I look at the group, right? Rob, outside linebacker, weak side. Go, why? He's not better than any of these guys. Why would you bring him back for that role?
Can you remember Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
Of course. Maybe
film.
The best Indiana Jones. I don't know. Yeah. I'll let others rate that one. For me, though, I think it's number one.
I think it's 2 behind Raiders of the Lost Ark, but there's only 3 Indiana Jones films. Let's just make that absolutely clear.
That's true. You're right.
But the third film, at the very end, Indiana Jones is falling down that crack in the floor, and he's reaching out for the Grail, and he's got his fingertips on it. And Indy's father is there, and he goes, Indiana, let it go. And he looks at his father, he relinquishes the Grail, and he has his life saved. Someone needs to be Indiana Jones's dad to John Schneider and just say to him, John, let it go. Let it go. I'm not going to start singing the Frozen song. Let it go.
You can. If I want to hear it.
Okay. Let it go. Let it go.
Let it go.
Just let it go.
Yeah,
John,
I'm with you.
Put the Jamal Adams down, John.
But you think, but what is it? I mean, this, to me, it comes across. This is agent stuff. This has got to be his agent that just keeps throwing it out there. Has to be.
I've no idea. I mean, part of me wonders whether the Seahawks are dangling this out there to gauge how the public response is, and if they are, then it's up to us to all go, no, we're not having this. Like there's 2 reasons why. What he did at the end of last season, I can't root for this guy anymore. I don't want to see him representing the team that I follow.
I hear it. Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is all this talk about his body is breaking down.
Yeah.
His body was breaking down at safety, and they're talking about playing him at linebacker. There are not many linebackers with his size. It is fanciful at best that they're going to throw him in at linebacker. My real concern is that, and I don't know whether this is true or not, this is just me thinking out loud, that John Schneider thinks that is a blotch on my copybook, that trade. And now I've got a new defensive-minded head coach. Maybe if I bring Jamal Adams back, that the new WizKid defensive-minded coach can turn this guy around, and in the end, the trade will not look as bad. That almost you can blame Pete Carroll for this not working, and that there's kind of a bit of an ego involved here. I really hope that isn't the case. Listen, if you want to add a safety, that is the single deepest position on the veteran market right now. There is a cluster of players who are very intriguing if you want to make a splash at safety, or somebody who can come up into the box and do a bit of linebacker. You don't just let Jamal Adams go somewhere else. We don't need to see him in Seattle.
And all the stuff that you say is spot on, because like what he did with the reporter and all that, I don't like that about him. And it's a sour taste in my mouth. And I just, I don't like people like that, especially, the tenor of it and everything that he did on social media. I look past that and I just say, he's not good. Why would you bring back someone who's not good and who has it? Robbie's got an unwillingness to put his nose on the football and tackle. Why would you bring that guy back to be a linebacker? He showed that he didn't want to do it as a safety. And you make a great point. He's breaking down, and now you want to put him closer to the line of scrimmage where he's going to get hurt more often. No, I'm just no hard pass. I I really do question whether or not the Seahawks really do have a genuine interest, or this is the agent trying to get it out there. I mean, the Niners are sniffing around. I mean, is the agent playing the Niners up because he thinks the Seahawks are going to react to it and go, oh no, we can't. I hope he goes to the Niners. My God, I'll drive Jamal Adams to Santa Clara and have the Niners sign him.
Yeah, I'll fly over to the States.
God, yes, come on over.
And I'll carry him to Santa Clara. Like,
yes.
if it means that he doesn't
we'll put
have
him in Rob, you and I will put him in one of those rickshaws. Do you guys have rickshaws over there? Do you know what that is?
I know what that is. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. We're going to put him in a rickshaw. You and I, we're going to go on a road trip. We're going to bike him down to Santa Clara in a rickshaw.
I will do it. I will take that for the team.
And we're not going to slow down. We're going to pedal right by the stadium, and then you're going to kick him out.
Yes. There you go, Kyle. Enjoy.
Enjoy it, Kyle. Or are you surprised they didn't at some point take a quarterback, the Seahawks?
Yeah, I mean, I am, just because. No, I got that wrong. I thought that they would, and I thought they were going to take someone relatively early, and I got that wrong. I think the thing is with it, Puck, is they're going to have to. I just wish they'd take more shots. I actually wrote about this week. I understand why, since Russell Wilson's departure, they haven't made like a splash at quarterback, because the 2022 draft was poor for quarterbacks. 2023, even picking 5th overall wasn't enough to get into the top 3 quarterbacks. They clearly didn't rate Will Levis. So you can't force the pick. If you don't rate the guy, you can't take him. And then this year, you've got 6 quarterbacks going in the top 12. So I understand why they've not gone all in on a player who's the guy. I get it. What I don't understand is, why are they not even willing to take guys later on? Like, I'm no huge fan of Michael Pratt, but the Green Bay Packers drafted Pratt, and they've got Jordan Love because they're taking shots. They're doing what John Schneider says is the philosophy, which is to keep taking shots at quarterback, keep drafting him. The Seahawks took a tackle from Finley instead of taking a throwaway late 6th rounder on Michael Pratt. That's the kind of issue I have. They're not even really bringing anybody in to have a go at this. So, I don't know. It is what it is. I've spent already a bit of time this week looking at the quarterbacks next year. I think it is a deeper class than people acknowledge, but whether it's a deeper class that is going to appeal to John Schneider, who seems to like very mobile, very big, Brett Favre-esque type passers, not too sure whether there's those types available next year. So on it goes. The mystery as to what the long-term future is.
It's odd from the standpoint that he just spent so much time and effort in the offseason to highlight the fact that what we thought would be a big difference with the splitting of he and Carroll, because I think that was given off this perception that maybe Carroll never ever wanted to draft a quarterback. At least that's how I always read it and kind of listened to it. And that because of where he came from in that model of Green Bay, that where they always would draft a guy late and then develop him. And if they develop him, they can, it's Matt Hasselbeck. We can trade that guy. We can get more picks back for him. And for him not to do it this year after spending so much time and publicly to express how he's kind of, pinched himself or hit himself and been bothered by his lack of drafting those quarterbacks. He spent a lot of effort on it, and then not to do it was odd.
And
for
also,
sure.
the messaging's a little bit strange too, because he was asked after the draft, like, what's the long-term plan? And look, that's a difficult question to answer, because who knows where you're going to be drafting next year? Who knows who's going to even declare with NIL and stuff like that? So you can't really say, well, that guy's the answer. We're going to draft him next year. Really hard question to answer. But then he talked about Sam Howell. What a big deal it was to draft Sam Howell. But a few weeks ago, when they actually traded for Sam Howell, his messaging was, he's the backup. He's the backup to Geno. He's not even really competing with Geno. And yet, a few weeks earlier than that, the messaging was, to every time Geno Smith's name came up, bring up Drew Lock. So, like, this, it's a really sort of inconsistent. They've never truly sort of been 100% behind Geno Smith. It seems very clear that, at least to me, that John Schneider does not view Geno Smith as the answer. They are sort of taking a bit of a free hit at Sam Howell. I mean, like, but then is Howell even going to get a chance to play? Like, part of me, Puck, in a really sort of sneaky, kind of sadistic kind of way, just wants him to give Sam Howell the go, and then next year, either he's good and he's the answer, and well done, you've found the guy, or he sucks, and then you get to draft somebody early in round 1 who can replace them. That to me almost feels beneficial than if Geno Smith's just going to start again and it's going to be another year where the Seahawks end up like with 9-10 wins and in the middle of the pack, are you better off sort of taking more of a risk there and sort of seeing what you have in how? I don't know. A lot of people will hate that idea. Some will be open to it. But either way, they've got to find an answer sooner rather than later. They just can't keep muddling along like they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. We got a week past. Last thing for you. Can you make more sense of what the Atlanta Falcons did there with Michael Penix, as you've had a week to kind of digest that?
Yeah, I've thought about this quite a lot, and it seems to me like the Falcons just don't know what they're doing. That by all accounts, it seems like what they did, Puck, was they decided quite early in the process they were going to sign Kirk Cousins to this mega deal, and then went ahead and did it, and tampered like crazy in the process, which is likely going to cost them significant draft stock next year. By the way, that investigation's still going, but the expectation is that they could be seriously hit by this. And then what's happened after that is the scouts and the coaches have come together. And it seems as if Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson, the head coach and defensive coordinator, have then told the GM, oh, we really like Michael Penix. Yeah, we really like Michael Penix. We should take him. We should have him as well. And the two sides don't seem to have really thought this through. Like they've got quite late in the process into Michael Penix. But there was no threat of anybody stealing Michael Penix way before number 8. I think if you were determined to draft a quarterback at number 8, I think you had a couple of options there. JJ McCarthy was still available, for example. They could have moved up if they wanted Michael Penix that badly. And instead of spending $100 million on Kirk Cousins, they could have gone out and got Christian Wilkins for their defensive line or Daniil Hunter or something like that, and then drafted Penix, who was probably as pro-ready as any other quarterback in this draft, to come in and start. And that would have been quite exciting. And now the situation they've got with themselves is, as other people have said, is that Michael Penix is going to go out there in camps because Kirk Cousins is still recovering from a series of Achilles injury. And he's going to be throwing missiles all around the field. And all the players are going to be like, look at this cool Michael Penix guy, and then look at someone's dad over there in a jumper. Oh no, it's Kirk Cousins.
No, this is the element that people haven't brought up, and listen, because it makes people uncomfortable. But this is the reality of especially where they're playing here. And I thought about this a lot. They're playing in Atlanta. It's a predominantly you've got a predominantly black culture down there, right? With their fan base. Okay, he is young, black, exciting quarterback who throws the ball 1,000,000 miles in the air. The other option is like our dad. It was Kirk Cousins, nerdy white guy who drives a minivan and wears, blue jeans. I mean, it's just for their fan base, who's more relatable, Michael Penix or Kirk Cousins? I mean, it's just obvious. And I don't mean to break it down to that. Obviously, you want the best quarterback. That's who you want. But that is one of the elements, and I don't think a lot of people have talked about it enough. That's one of the elements that is not going to be in Kirk Cousins' favor, because he's going to have a fan base there that is going to, they look at that quarterback and go, well, he looks like us. Like we want him to play quarterback. And I think Kirk Cousins, I think he's a fine quarterback. He is in a no-win situation because the second he throws an interception, the second he has one bad series, one bad game, I mean, the calls, I have a buddy who does a sports talk show down there. It's going to be calling for Michael Penix immediately, especially what you said, because in camp and in the preseason, on that track with those weapons he has, the first time he unleashes a 60, 70-yard bomb to Drake London, it's going to be bad news for Cousins.
And Raheem Morris, good luck, because you are going to have to manage that locker room, and they're all going to want Michael Penix. So good luck with that. Kirk Cousins is, how is he even going to walk in and be like trying to lead this team now? To me, it doesn't make any sense. And I think if they liked Michael Penix, they should have understood and worked out that they liked Michael Penix in January, not in March or April, whenever they decided they were going to do this, and then base their offseason around drafting Michael Penix. I think Michael Penix is a perfectly acceptable 8th overall pick. Sure. But go with that. This is going to create so much trouble for them as a franchise. And I think we're just already counting down to the inevitable dead cap hit extravaganza. Cousins cut. He's got a no trade clause. So if he wants to just say, screw you, Atlanta, I'm just going to sit here and eat all this money, you're going to have to cut me and take on a dead cap hit. He could do that. And that will just waste all of the benefit of the rookie contract of Michael Penix. And I just don't get it. They should have just not signed Cousins and drafted Penix.
All right, what else you got up on the website right now? You got a reflective thoughts, a video up of the 2024 draft that came out on Wednesday. You've got another piece on the Seattle's offense talented playmakers, but question marks remain. Plug the website, will you, Rob? SeahawksDraftBlog.com.
Yep. So SeahawksDraftBlog.com, we've got a review of the offense and the defense on there. A little look ahead to 2025 already, which I'll build on that in the coming weeks. And like I said, that video there, interview with Jim Nagy happening later today. So that'll be up on the YouTube channel, Rob Staton Football, very shortly as well. And yeah, we'll keep on motoring on, and I'm going to start looking at quarterbacks for next year. So
it never ends covering the NFL draft. Rob Staton with us every Thursdays here on pucksports.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Rob's channel as well at Rob Staton. If you're not already, please leave a comment below. And then again, all this content again at pucksports.com. Also, you can follow along there at Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Rob, again, every Thursday, brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926. Superior Linen Service provides the highest quality of products and services to the greater Puget Sound area. Get a free quote today at suplinen.com. Give them a call, 253-383-2636. Love you, Rob. Appreciate it. We'll talk next week.
See you then.